Scully, I was like you once. I didn't know who to trust, and I chose another path, another life, another fate where I found my sister. But even though my world was unrecognizable and upside down, there was one thing that remained the same. You were my friend, and you told me the truth. Even when the world was falling apart, you were my constant, my touchstone.
And you are mine.
Hello and welcome to Most Unwanted and X-Files podcast. For some reason I was like, is that correct? Is that a weird podcast? I'm Luke and I'm joined by Daniel, aka Chex.
Mr. Checkme, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Chex is my father's name. I've done that joke 7 different times, I'm sure I have.
Okay, it works. I heard it today actually on Miss Marvel. They're not your name. It was
my father's name. That joke,
Mr. Wilson. Yeah, Mr. Wilson's my father's name was.
What did you think of Miss Marvel?
I really enjoyed it. I think I text the group message of Marvel stuff. I felt it felt so Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
In the best, like stylistically, not story wise. But like you can tell it's like the kind of like comic book come to life kind of vibe to it. And with the story of this comic book super fan, it makes sense, you know what I mean? That's sort of the style of it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I just like that we're getting stories that aren't just about white men who are superheroes, you know what I mean?
For sure. You know what's a even bigger than that for me? We're starting now, and God, we're way past the line of like where it should have been. But we're starting now, especially Disney Plus, and I'll give Disney their credit. Disney can be the evil corporation that they're built up to be sometimes. But we are getting to the point now where it used to be if you had a minority storyline, it would still be told by a white director. And it would be a minority story through the eyes of a white man. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And it's like, surely this is completely counterintuitive to what we're trying to do.
if you want to truly be multicultural and you want to sort of be as diverse as possible as a company, it needs to start from the ground up. You need women, people of colour, all different cultures, all different ethnicities, all different sexualities. You need that at the director, at the producer, at the CEO level. You know what I mean? You can't just put a Muslim person in a show and say, well, that's our diversity quota hit. Yeah. And I like the fact that that's my one takeaway from Miss Marvel, is you can tell from the ground up it's a story about that culture. Yeah. And that's important. That's so important. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit preachy, but I really appreciate that. I really do.
I have an anecdote of that, though. So, was it last week? I can't remember when it was exactly, but me and Tash went to see Joe Lycett, comedian.
Yes.
Who is bisexual, I think. He makes a joke of it in the actual show.
Yeah.
But it was really refreshing to see like a comedy act not by a straight guy doing it. You know what I mean? Like, because the jokes were like of an experience. The support act was quite a the way she described herself was very lesbian. And some of the jokes in there were stuff that it took me forever to figure out what the joke was about. And it's like, one, that's good. Well, it's good. It makes sense because it's like comedy that's not specifically for me. You know what I mean? I find it funny. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like sat there.
But it's not relatable to you. Yeah.
And there are also people there who are like your typical, no, I just want jokes about like ex-wives and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's like, one, what are you doing at this gig? But anyway, it's that kind of stuff where, it's nice to see other people represented, and you get, it's kind of like you get like a different flavor of a story or in this case a comedy set, because it's just a completely different experience that I've never and will never experienced, but I get to sort of see what their sort of side of the story is.
Isn't that what art is about?
100%, yeah.
Isn't that what, like, the magic of TV and movies and music?
Yeah.
It's about experiencing something that's not your life, and how for so long we've got to experience so many white men's vision, and you know what I mean? And again, I don't want to get too preachy, but like, there's still such a long way to go. Yeah. But like, I watched Miss Marvel, and by the way, we've really breezed over this, but it's a new show on Disney Plus. It's set in the Marvel universe for people who are not sure, about a young Muslim girl who becomes a superhero. Mm-hmm. And I watched that, and I just thought it was like, it's still a long way to go, but what a huge step forward. Yeah. And like, there's a line in it, and I mentioned this to you off air, but there's a line in that show where she says, basically they're like talking about like whether she's being a superhero or not. And she basically turns around and says, Muslim girls from New Jersey don't become superheroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I applaud Disney so much for that, because they said it. They didn't just imply it. They didn't just try and fill a diversity quota. They said what the problem was and then started to address it. And I like that. And I like accountability. Yeah. Of course, it's not all great, because Disney also stayed very, very quiet during the whole "don't say gay" movement. So let's not give them all the plaudits. But
I was also thinking the devil's advocate for that was that they've held the status quo for
exactly.
so long. So
exactly. So let's not give them a standing ovation too.
Yeah, Mickey, you piece of shit. Disney have got a good way of doing that, because Mickey is such like this like corporate figurehead of it. It's such a lovable character. It's like you can't really get angry at Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, exactly. They're very convenient. They're very conveniently putting him up front and center when this sort of stuff's there. It's like it's like he's the CEO, and it's like, you know what I mean. It's like, well, you can't be mad at us.
Yeah. We're
run by a mouse. Look at his shorts.
Imagine if they were actually run by a mouse. If we found out this big multi-billion-dollar company is actually run by a mouse.
That'd be insane. What, like in a human, like controlling the human?
Oh, kind of like Men in Black.
More like Ratatouille.
Yeah, that's more on brand and is Disney. So yeah.
Maybe Ratatouille was them going, tapping their nose.
Oh, imagine. They're like, we'll throw him off the scent. It's a rat.
Yeah. Mickey's just winking at the crowd. Wouldn't this be crazy?
Wow. Imagine. I'd like to hope that that's actually what's going on. What a farce that would be. We found like the biggest company in the world that runs this entire...
People would go mental.
Crazy.
One of the... literally holding the majority of the wealth of the world. And it's a mouse that has it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be happy with that. I'm working a 9 to 5. and this mouse is just cleaning up.
Maybe that's like the Illuminati. That's the secrets they're trying to stop getting out.
He's not giving me any of his wealth, but he'll give his trouserless duck a handout here and there, won't he?
Unbelievable. Talking of conspiracies. So we're in episode 2, series 7.
Yes.
This is also the 161st episode of Most Unwanted. I always forget to say how many episodes we are. I mean, you could see when you started.
Yeah.
161. That's
remember when we started the podcast, we had a little bit of we used to like go back and forth over every little detail, and now I feel like we kind of just trust each other to just sort of do what needs to get done. Mm-hmm. But back in the day, everything that we used to do, we used to have like a conversation about it, the text chain, like, oh, should we do this? Should we do that way? Mm-hmm. And we had a conversation about whether to have season 1, episode 1 as the title, or episode 163 and then name the title we're looking at. And I think I do like the idea. Like, I do like the fact that we've got how long we've been going. Like 161 episodes, that's insane.
Yeah. I've never understood that mentality of people who don't like having numbers of stuff because they're like, oh, it's... So there's talking of comics, actually, like comics have this real thing where they don't want to acknowledge the numbering until it gets to a milestone. So they'll keep restarting like Spider-Man.
Yes.
So it'll be like Spider-Man issue 1. So recently, we're now on Spider-Man issue 3. It's not. It's issue like 857 or something like that. But they want to keep restarting it because they're like, oh, people, it confuses people to know there's so many, and they're like, oh, where do I start and stuff like that. Which I think doesn't give people enough credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, how much more impressive is it to say, oh, we're in Spider-Man issue 900 than Spider-Man issue 1 of series 12?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
I do get it, though, because have you ever looked at a podcast and gone, oh, I'd love to get into this podcast, and then go, oh, God, they're already 120 episodes in. I've got this to catch up on. It is daunting. So I see both sides.
I guess it depends how you look. So most podcasts, I start just where they are, and then I'll go back if I love them. You know what I mean?
But can you imagine someone starting where they are with this podcast?
It would be crazy.
Imagine someone comes along and goes, I really fancy next podcast. I'm just going to have a look. You know what? I'm going to start where they are. They've just started season 7, so that's great for me.
Yeah.
And then they get 5 minutes of Mickey Mouse content to start them off.
Mickey Mouse content would be... Usually you say it's Mickey Mouse stuff for something that's bullshit. In this case, it's literal
Mickey Mouse content.
Oh, God. But I would argue, start with this one over episode 1, because I feel like we're way better now, even though we talk...
You wouldn't have got this Mickey Mouse chat back in the day.
No, we'd be like, we can't say that, we'll alienate people. Now we're just like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the thing is, everyone who's listening to us knows what we're like. I feel like you're all along for the ride. For better or worse.
Yeah. Ultimately, yeah. You've only got yourselves to blame.
Yeah,
really.
This is a roller coaster, and the highs have kind of come and gone. We're all about the lows now.
Speaking of lows,
stop this transitioning.
So yeah, this is episode 2 of series 7, the Sixth Extinction II, Amor Fati. It was directed by Michael Watkins, and it was written by David Duchovny and Chris Carter.
Interesting.
So this is his second full writing credit. It was the original air date was November the 14th, 1999. So we start and we get this recap of the last 2 episodes, really, to sort of wrap it up, which, again, brilliant that we get these recaps because, God, we need them.
Yes.
And then we start with this scene of Mulder watching sort of a family playing on the beach. And we see this little boy on the beach recurring throughout the episode.
A dreamlike quality, I'd say,
Yeah.
to the visual.
Is it explained who the boy is? Because I couldn't find anywhere where it says exactly who it is.
I feel like it's him, isn't it?
I thought it was meant to represent him. That was the vibe I got. But nowhere does it say in anything that I've read that's what it is.
No, I think it's hinted at that it's him. But maybe it's left up to interpretation. I wanted to pause right here and just say, does David Duchovny just keep getting better looking?
I mean, he definitely has. He has something about him in this sort of scene.
On this beach scene, I looked at him and I was a little. I mean, I'm a straight guy, but I was like, he's looking good.
He's got something about him. He has a look.
It's very clean and because it was like I think that was like it's just dreamlike vision. So obviously his hair was pristine. Yeah. He wore that like flowing white shirt. Oh, I got hot under the collar, Luke.
We do cut to him looking less than ideal immediately after. So yeah, we see Mulder is now paralyzed in this bed, basically, after what we'd seen in the last episode, where he's having these psychic or sort of I guess psychic. That's the really psychic powers like overwhelm his brain. We see that his Mumda. Oh, Tina.
Good to see her back.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've seen her, actually. She is paying him a visit. She's just not happy about this at all, the situation. There's also a bit where he's calling out to her, but obviously he's doing it in his mind, I guess.
Well, this is a wild scene all in all. But yeah. I'm talking about the next bit with cigarette smoking man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot going on here. But yeah, he's calling out to her. It reminded me of, have you ever seen the music video to One by Metallica?
No.
So there's like a film where a soldier gets like his arms, legs blown off and he's like in a coma. And it's just him like being like fully conscious but unable to say.
Yes,
And it's like, it reminded me of that kind of thing of just, he's
scary. It's a scary sort of...
Yeah,
concept.
especially when he's like screaming out as well to her as well in this scene, which it's horrific to think about, and like especially when you think people do go into comas and they say that they can.
It reminded me of the instant thing that it reminded me of was Get Out.
Yes, yeah.
But just that, I think that's just a very scary concept in general, being stuck in
trapped,
in your own body.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, we see. Mulder then goes, and we see that Cigarette Smoking Man is also paying a visit to him.
Yeah. I was very confused in this scene. I think it explains it more. The fact that this is like, we don't know what's dream and what's not, especially this bit. Because they have a full-blown conversation telepathically. I guess Cigarette Smoking Man is also psychic, maybe? I don't know. No, I think this is a dream.
Oh, part of the dream.
I think this is part of the dream.
Yeah.
But... It's very it is open for interpretation again, I guess, because this is a part, like, at some point he did come in and take Mulder away. So maybe there is this telepathic conversation, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Very strange.
Yeah. He starts administering this fentanyl or whatever this drug was that sort of stops his brain from overloading, I guess. And casually, Cigarette Smoking Man drops that he's, he's sort of waxing lyrical about Mulder and sort of bigging him up essentially in this psychic conversation. Then injects the drugs directly into his head, which looked painful. Right in the temple. And we get this, it's a theme for both of the episodes, but I noticed it a lot more in this one. So we sort of get this like, what does he do? So Cigarette Smoking Man sort of tells him to rise and sort of hold his hands. I can't really describe it. Like curled up, very biblical in like rising, like Jesus kind of like.
I don't the exact same.
Later on as well when he's splayed out like on the table in the cross position. So many Jesus,
especially with the backdrop of all of last episode's symbolism as well.
Yeah,
there's definitely a religious theme throughout this storyline.
And then as mentioned, casually, Cigarette Smoking Man drops a Vader on him and tells him it's his father. Again, no, it's something that we've kind of theorized is the case.
Yeah,
we don't know if it's true. It's Cigarette Smoking Man, so who knows?
And it's a dream. It could be a dream as well. Like it's a bit of an awkward one. But I don't know about you. I got the impression that this was the reveal.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
This felt to me like as much evidence as we need.
It feels like one of those where if they go, actually he's lying or this isn't true, it's kind of like,
it would be hollow. Yeah.
It did annoy me because I took this prediction off my predictions this season.
Yeah.
And then 2 episodes in, it came true. You put it on your predictions this season. I was fuming. I was like, God damn it. But hey-oh, that's just the way predictions go. As soon as you get rid of them, they will happen.
There was quite a few predictions that came into play in this. I'm terrible for remembering my predictions, but I know for certain I got one right.
I remember, they only remember that one because I was like, initially, I was like, I'm sure I predicted this. And then I checked and I was like, no, I got rid of it. What an idiot. Then we get the intro. And also of note, the words at the end of the intro are Amor Fati.
Did not pick up on that.
Which means the love of fate.
Oh, okay.
In Latin, which is apparently in Nietzsche's philosophy or something like that.
Nice.
I have no idea about Nietzsche's or his philosophies.
No.
And do you know any philosophers? You into that kind of stuff?
Descartes.
I know of him and what he said.
Yeah, that's it.
I know John Locke because he's in Lost.
Yes, yeah. Not that John Locke.
Not that John Locke. Different John Locke.
Yeah.
No idea what he talks about though.
No.
There's your Lost bingo card for this. So that's 2 episodes on the trot.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, we need to stop.
Because we don't talk about Lost in any other part of life. Like, we can go weeks without mentioning Lost.
Do you know
and
what
as soon
it
as the
is?
mic's on, it's like, bang, let's get all our Lost facts out.
Do you know what it is? I wonder if it's just that long form TV show that's kind of similar in that it was like a big thing of that era. You know
I'd go as far to say as I think X-Files was a big inspiration for Lost.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's that aspect of it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Obviously not the same story beats, but yeah, the same kind of like way it's told, I guess. Yeah. After the intro, we see Critic visiting Scully, and he starts. They sort of say that when Mulder made contact with this piece of this spaceship, they sort of explain this, but I don't think they do a very good job. Like, a lot, this was explained more when I read about it afterwards.
I didn't understand this until we pieced together just before recording.
Yeah.
So this is, again, we talked about it. I'm not going to go back into it. We talked about this last episode.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, oh, he was infected 2 years ago, and then this has brought it back up. That's the line they use. Yeah. And I was like, when?
Yeah,
when was he infected 2 years ago?
I was confused.
And I was like imagining someone like injecting him with something, and I was like, when was this happening? Yeah. Now, of course, we've pieced it together, and it was the black oil. Yeah, and I do remember that happening.
It was when he was in the Russian thing.
The Gulag,
yeah.
But I didn't put those two and two together and thought they related to each other.
Yeah, neither did I.
So you can't, and they make no other mention of it.
Yeah.
It's literally just, oh, he was infected 2 years ago, and now this has brought it all back up. And I'm like, oh, is that a thing? I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah, I was a bit confused by this. Like I said, it explained it, but it kind of felt like, oh, okay, yeah, like, it makes sense, but it's like not like, it wasn't a big reveal of like, oh, it was like, oh, okay.
And much like what you said last episode, which I took away and I thought about, and I thought, actually, that's a really good point. If you'd have had a scene in the previously on of Mulder lying down with that black oil going into him, instantly, that's all you need to say. Yeah. Oh, remember 2 years ago when he got infected? I'd have had that in my head.
Yeah. That's
what you need.
I really do think, obviously, it's with hindsight that we know that you can do this better. But, I mean, we are reviewing a show that was out 23 years ago. So I guess, there's a lot of innovations that you could sort of implant on it now. But yeah, anyway, just to sort of summarize, he says that this black oil that infected him has been reawakened by the shard of the spaceship that they found. And he also says that that Scully needs to basically stop what she's doing, because this is going to disrupt the proof that he is like proof of alien life, essentially, and he's going to get in the way of Krichkow's, I guess, his return to form, basically, of getting his job back and, vindication.
Yeah, because he's secretly like sending off, like, he's got copies of everything. Yeah. He's sending it off to different people. Yeah. He's got his own motives.
Yeah, definitely. We get this like tense scene between Scully and Krichkow, which we sort of see why later on. We find out that Mulder has disappeared, essentially at this point, and this is what we saw earlier when Cigarette Smoking Man took him away somewhere. We find that Skinner's been looking for him, and also find evidence that Mulder's mum, right, had signed him out of the hospital. We then see Cigarette Smoking Man driving Mulder somewhere.
The episode kind of takes a turn here, I thought, where it's like, this obviously becomes like this huge dream sequence.
Yeah. At what point did you realise it was a dream?
I kind of figured it out. Like, as I say, I already knew the dream sequence at the start because it had like that dream sequence shine to it. But this car scene, it didn't take me long to figure out that it was like something was going on. Something was a bit weird.
I figured it out as soon as they got to the neighbourhood.
Yeah.
As soon as they got there, I was like, something's off here. Like, this isn't real. Like, just something about it just didn't...
Yeah, there was definitely, like, again, it's the way it was filmed as well. I thought they did a very good job of conveying it. But they do kind of just leave the real-life story in the past now, and it all becomes about this dream sequence.
Yeah. I did love this as well, this team-up that we didn't think we'd ever be getting. Mulder and Cigarette.
Where they're best friends. And it's like... any moment you expect them to get out of the car and start playing catch.
Yeah. My favourite bit of this was when Cigarette Smoking Man lights 2 cigarettes and goes to hand him one. Because that is him like going, you're going to join me, basically. And I was like, this is the most Cigarette Smoking Man way of doing this.
Also, the weirdest way to offer someone a cigarette.
Yeah.
Don't pre-light it.
I have heard of people doing this, but I always found it was weird.
Not to non-smokers.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, he's on about like giving Mulder a secret identity and like, we're going to take you away. Your old life's gone because that's all in the past, but we'll give you a new life. And I was like, he was like, well, I don't smoke. Oh, well, maybe you do now. That's not the way our secret identity works. Yeah. You don't have to start doing bad habits.
Yeah. You're like, do you know what? I'm going to go straight to heroin.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Oh, you know, I did testify against the mafia. Yeah. I guess I do cocaine now.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, so he sort of drives him to this like picturesque neighborhood, and it just all looks a bit like it's like white picket fence, you know, like the classic Americana like suburbs.
Yeah.
And this is again where I sort of felt like something was off, and you find out that this is all a big dream. And he goes inside, and we find out that Deep Throat is there.
Yeah.
And this is a blast from the past.
Yeah.
We last saw him, it was like a flashback episode, wasn't it? Like,
it was season 2, you know.
He was in series 2 when he died or when he got shot, but there was like an episode.
No, well, didn't he get shot at the end of season 1?
I think it was the end of season 1, yeah, he got shot. There was an episode he was in recently as like a sort of cameo because there was an alien or something, and Cigarette Smoking Man was debating whether to shoot the alien. Do you remember
yes.
Yeah.
I do remember. I
cannot remember what episode of the series, but I remember that situation being, we haven't seen him for a while, and now we get sort of...
Wasn't it the Cigarette Smoking Man's origins?
It might have been that episode, yeah.
Anyway, we're probably making ourselves look stupid here, but...
yeah. They have a conversation. Mulder is just over the moon to see him. And I think it's because he's kind of got this guilt that he got him killed, and this kind of like alleviates that guilt.
And I love the way Deep Throat talks to him. It's like, oh, we got you, kidder.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. And it's funny because it's so unlike all the characters.
Yeah.
Like, they're not acting the way they would in real life. It's like how Mulder would like them to act to relieve him of any guilt.
Exactly, yeah.
Because he's literally like, don't worry, son. And Deep Throat was never like that, but like, don't worry, son. I just got a little... He just shot me and it was fine.
Yeah.
It was non-lethal and I'm good. I read the paper every morning. It's
I've got grandkids and a family and all this stuff, and it's just like, okay, yeah. But yeah, he claims to have faked his own death and all this stuff, and he escaped the syndicate. And he says that Mulder can do all that same stuff now and live a normal life and get away from all this. And this is where we see that Foley. Oh, he always gets this wrong. Foley is there, and
this is a bit. I think I can safely say, for all fans of the X-Files, we've all been waiting for.
This is. I did write it. Trix's favourite scene.
It's nice to see a little bit of like what the fans want.
Yeah, and that's what they do. They give them what the fans want.
What the fans want, and what we wanted was we want to know what it's like for Mulder to finally be happy and be married to his soulmate. Which we all know is Fowley, Dan Fowley.
Exactly. I thought you were just saying...
What? Wait there. No. What?
Mulder, you know what he likes to do.
I do know what he likes to do, and he gets to do that as well.
He does get to do that. Starts with handcuffs as well, so... I ain't saying they were used, but...
Match made in heaven.
Match made in heaven. So yeah... I mean, the note it says here, Mulder meets Foley, and the two have sex. So that is what happens.
That is what happens. Is this Mulder's dream?
As in, well, I guess it has to be. It has to be his sort of...
Weird that Fowley's this position.
Yeah.
Because I understand why Scully's not in it. From a narrative perspective, because Scully's on the outside. And
especially with what he says at the end.
You know why wasn't Scully in this dream?
Yeah. That's what I thought, yeah.
Very strange to me.
Yeah, it would have made more sense maybe to be in Scully in that role, and then that's what sends him, I don't know, like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they just needed a good way to write her out. And this was like a good send-off to her.
I mean, was it?
Yeah.
She died off screen.
Yeah, she did, didn't she? Yeah.
Fowley, I think she gets done dirty in this episode. I really do. But, you know, I really wanted her Mulder to work out, so...
Well, I mean, in a dream way, you got what you wanted, so, you know.
I think Mulder should get with Fowley, and Scully should get with, what's his name? The ginger guy,
Pendrell.
Pendrell. Scully should get with Pendrell.
In a dream world where Pendrell's still alive and Fowley's still alive, there we go. Yeah, we get the team.
I think that's perfect.
You have just upset everyone.
And Skinner should get with Krychek.
We're all back on page. We cut to seeing Scully investigating the hospital tapes. And we see the old spray can trick on the cameras. The guy who's analysing it with her says the word guesstimate, which really threw me off. I was like, in 1999? I thought that was like a new word.
No, guesstimate's been around for a long time.
That's crazy. I thought that was like
guess and estimates are so intrinsically linked that it would have been wild if no one had put them together.
Yeah, but in the 60s.
It's weird that, like, you know, an agent is using the word guesstimates.
Yeah, I always thought it was like corporate speak.
I want to hear, like, I don't want guesstimates from my FBI agents. I want estimates.
Stats, but yeah, so he reckons, well, they're just talking about stats of what time she was there. Yeah. And because we can see in the picture, there's like a conveniently left circle on the camera that shows that Mulder was actually there. Yeah.
There's mysterious smoking.
Cigarette smoke man really needs to stop smoking because it's giving him away
every single time. He's how unlucky is he that he lives in the one state where nobody else smokes.
There's only one smoker in this. There literally is. Yeah,
I've not seen anybody else smoke.
I mean, it's good. He's lucky, really. Yeah, it could be really hard else. Scully goes back home and. She also starts seeing visions of Albert Hosteen, who the last time we'd seen was in the first episode of these 3 episodes, like last series, where he was dying, essentially. Like, they'd taken him to have this, like, healing, which he doesn't go into. She sort of brings that up, but he sort of is coy about that.
Yeah.
Which sort of signposts where that's going. And Scully also then receives a package. It's a book on Native American beliefs and basically starts spelling out all of the things that what they've been investigating.
On that ship,
Yeah, all the characters match. And basically what it describes is this impending apocalypse and how that one person's going to prevent it, which sounds like somebody we might know.
Yeah. Also, again, very Jesus-like in the connotations.
Yeah, exactly. Earlier on in the episodes, Skinner had basically told Scully that he's compromised and that he can't know any details because, you know, it's dangerous for him to know these details. Scully calls Skinner and
masterfully done.
And basically says, did you send me this book that explains the entire reason? And he's literally on the phone going, don't tell me, because I shouldn't know these things. I don't know if we hear him get attacked off. No. She just goes straight to there. He's saying, don't talk to me. That you don't want me to tell me this stuff. So she's like, okay, I'll come and meet you in person then.
Spell it out.
Yeah. She goes and we hear Skinner being attacked and we see the badly disguised Krychek.
Was it definitely Krychek?
I'm almost certain it was Krychek.
I assumed it was, but I wondered whether you knew for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't say in the notes it was him, but it's Krychek. It's using the same thing that he has.
Why does he need to do... This is the only thing, he's got a kill switch in his head. Why does he need to disguise himself with a shoddy wig, run through the FBI officers, punch him in the gut and then leave?
Does he hit him or does he just do this thing and maybe he turns the nano machines up and...
Oh no, I see. I thought he hits him.
I don't know, yeah. Maybe he did. He's old school. I don't need nanomachines. I'll just bully. Actually, no. It has to be nanomachines because there's no way he's getting into a fist fight with Skinner coming out on top.
That's a good point. Very good point.
So he attacks him, and then as they sort of enter, he runs out.
Do you reckon Mulder and Krycek could take Skinner on together?
No.
Do you reckon Skinner would still win?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Who else do we have to
Okay, so Mulder, Krycek.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into a whole Skinner beating up Scully debate.
Yeah, that seems like a grey area you want to stay away from.
Cigarette smoking man's not going to do anything, is he?
He just uses mind.
Yeah, who's
Professor X.
Who's another fighter?
Who's a good fighter?
Who could Skinner beat up? That's what we want to know.
Who's pretty tough in the X-Files?
X was tough. X gave
They had a fight, didn't they?
Run for his money.
X is on par. So if it was X and any other, I reckon they'd win.
They'd win.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we need to get like our power rankings.
We should do a power ranking of
who would win. We break X-Files down and we take nothing from it, but apart from like who's the toughest.
We sound like we're 11 at school. Whose dad would be the hardest?
Okay, Scully or Fowley?
Don't bring this up because this annoys me as well. Because one of my other predictions was that Scully and Fowley would get into some kind of physical altercation.
That's not going to happen.
That's definitely not going to happen. But I reckon Scully.
No, Fowley, you're wrong. You're so wrong. Fowley beats Scully
You
up.
would say that.
No, it's nothing to do with my love for Fowley. She would beat Scully up.
But Scully's got military training from her dad. I reckon she's got some do you know military people have got say stuff like, oh, I know how to kill a person if I wanted to. I reckon she's got this secret, could break her neck just if she wanted to.
I don't think that matters when you've just got the brute strength that I feel like Fowley has.
Just physically more.
Yeah, I feel like Fowley's the Brock Lesnar of the X-Files world. You know what? For everyone listening, Dan's Twitter Corner is making a return next week. Get in the comments. Let us know what's your power rankings. Who's winning these fights?
Yeah, we need a male and a female division of who's on top. Who'd be the winner of these fights?
Who would you like? This is what I want to know. I want to know who would you prefer to fight? A giant Krycek or 1,000 miniature Mulders? That's what I want to know. These are the questions that need answers.
And that's why we have Twitter Corner.
Power rankings. That's going to be this season's theme.
Anyway, so Krycek attacks Skinner and then runs away. And in what I feel really shows up the FBI, Scully shouts, "Stop that man." He pulls a fire escape, and they're all like, "Oh no, there's a fire." What are they doing? It was so comedic. I was like, this is the FBI, and they've just been tricked by something that school kids do to get out of school. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's one way to get out, but he escapes and she loses him. Scully goes to visit Krycek. I think to just sort of explain what's happened now, and we see that Krycek has actually, as we mentioned before, he's stolen all of this information that she's got on the spaceship, and he's decided to distribute it to the wider internet, and I'm not sure where else, but I think he just posts it to other people to get the information out there, which she's just annoyed about, that this was meant to be kept under wraps and shouldn't be going outside of the investigation. So she deletes all the files from his laptop before he's able to completely upload them all. We go back to Mulder and his new life, and he's being shown around the neighborhood and who's there.
Yeah.
And we're introduced to his sister again. His sister's there, his adult sister again.
Yeah.
Who I couldn't recognize. I was like,
oh, see, I recognized her.
I vaguely remembered her. I was like, oh, I think I remember her.
Yeah.
But it was only when there was that's your sister, Samantha. And I was like, oh, yeah. It's his sister, Samantha.
But a weird distance.
Yeah.
No real interaction apart from seeing across the street and I reckon there's a lot more to these dream sequences than I feel like it's going to be one of those where if we watch this again at the end of the season, I think we're going to be able to pick it apart a little bit. But yeah, that was very noticeable to me that there wasn't any interaction between them.
It felt like as well when she was playing with like the children and stuff like that. Have you ever seen the end of Nightmare on Elm Street?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's that like picturesque, like sort of, and it's
very
like,
picturesque,
everything's happy. It's kind of that same kind of vibe. But yeah, it's like that dreamy kind of quality to it. We go through the rest of this sort of life that he leads. He marries Foley. They have children. Mulder becomes Muldada.
He does. Yeah.
That was torturous. We see the years going on. He gets married in like a second to Foley. Then she's, we see she's pregnant now. And then as that all keeps happening, we see Mulder growing older and we see that Foley has now died. Mulder in his sort of middle age looked like Bill Clinton. It was the suit and the grey hair. He looks so much like Bill Clinton. I was like, oh, this is uncanny at the moment. He gave that vibe anyway.
Yeah.
This is where we get the reveal that this is all a dream. I mean, at this point, it's fairly obvious.
Kind of knew, yeah.
But
you did know, yeah.
Yeah, we sort of pull out to this point and we see that he's strapped to this like operating table where he's been detained. There's some doctors talking about this procedure that's going to be done to him while Cigarette Smoking Man and Foley watch on. So we see that, yeah, there's something else going on here. Later on, we see Scully confront Foley in the FBI building. Calls her out on, basically at this point, that she's double-crossing them.
Yeah.
And they just have this... Yeah, Foley basically tells her to cut the crap and just say, well, what are you doing to help at this situation as well? Yeah. So, yeah, they're both saying that each of them screwing over one another. But Scully makes the point that if this was Mulder... and
he wouldn't do this to you.
Yeah, he would do everything to try and save you.
This is the closest you got to your prediction.
I honestly was like, I put fight in the hole, and I was like, this is going to happen.
All you needed is one slap.
Slap, yeah, that's all I needed.
Yeah, I'd give you that. If one of them had slapped, and I know exactly how it would have gone, you'd have gone, well, it wasn't technically a fight, and I'd have been like, no, Luke, you take that.
Yeah, I did put physical altercation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I should have put verbal altercation, which, to be honest, feels a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hey-ho, you can't all be winners. So we find out the procedure of what they're going to do is they're going to take a part of Mulder's like brain, his cranial tissue, that's been infected with this virus, and he's going to implant it into Cigarette Smoking Man to continue this sort of immunity, I guess, to this like virus.
Well, it is. I think in Cigarette Smoking Man, again, this is why it's a bit strange of like whether it's Mulder's dream or not, because in some aspects it does feel like it's a bit of Cigarette Smoking Man's as well. So it is a bit strange, but the general sort of vibe that we get throughout the episode is that Cigarette Smoking Man's kind of gone off the rails in the sense of he seems to have this vision of himself as the lone survivor after the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what the dream sort of makes it sound like. And his general demeanour as he's getting on the operating table, it kind of just feels like, you know, the guy that's like got the vaccine to the zombie apocalypse and then is injecting himself and then turns into this big monster.
Yeah.
It's that same sort of vibe, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He kind of doesn't seem like he's as controlled as he used to be.
He definitely becomes more villain-esque than what he used to be before. But yeah, we find out what this operation is, and he also mentions that he thinks that Mulder is now an alien-human hybrid, and that this genetic material in Mulder will be the key to surviving this viral
whatever's coming.
Yeah, with this viral alien pandemic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which again leads to this thing of Mulder being the sole person who can save humanity. The Jesus Christ comparison again.
Or if Cancerman has his way, that would be his burden. He's taking. He's got this bit of a god complex about himself because he keeps on saying, I'm going to take... I know I'm skipping forward a little bit, but he keeps on saying, I'm going to take this burden from Mulder.
Yeah.
We can leave Mulder behind. I'll take this burden and I'll be that sort of figure.
Yeah.
Are we set on this course then, do you reckon? Do you reckon the end of this season is this apocalypse-like event that's coming?
Maybe. At the end of this series or like the end of X-Files as a whole?
I feels like it's gearing up for the end of this season to me.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, it's hard to see like the end game for X-Files, I find, a lot of the time, because it chops and changes a lot.
Because that's... We can probably, like, even if that was the end of the season, you know it's going to be on the verge of it and then someone stops it.
Yeah.
But it feels like that's where it's leading up to, and it does feel like there's a sort of a very clear theme that's being sort of planted.
Yeah, that there's this incoming, like...
Yeah, and we need to be ready for it. Yeah. And then the idea of Mulder is already the one that can stop this because he is the one that's immune.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't sort of place what path it's going to go down with this, but it's a good indication, maybe. Yeah. There is a really creepy scene in this as well, where they're both going into the operation. So Cigarette Smoking Man has laid down next to Mulder before they're about to be operated on, and he puts his hand on Foley and says, "I'll carry on for Mulder."
Yeah,
Leah's kind of, and it's like, what did that mean? Like, that was really weird. I don't know. I got creepy vibes from that. I don't know if it was intended, but it definitely felt creepy.
Well, there's no... Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah. But I think the main takeaway from that was you could see Fowley, her resolve breaking.
Yeah, definitely.
And you could see her going, what am I doing? This isn't right.
Yeah.
I think she always knew it wasn't right, but she thought she was doing it for the better, for the greater good. But then, like... That, like you said, how creepy that was. No one's standing there going, well, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. As we've always, with like villains and stuff like that, they always think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's for themselves or, for the world in this situation.
As we know, Fowley was doing the right thing because she is like the hero of this story.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe I just said there. We go back to Mulder's dream and we see that he's now become an old man, and Cigarette Smoking Man is actually not aged, so he's still with him, basically telling them that everybody he loves has died.
Yeah.
Fowley deep throats Samantha and Scully. And this is where I pose a question, because I was thinking about this. Obviously, he's going to snap out of this at the end of the episode, and as we see that happens. Did he live out this life in his head? Like, did he live it out in real time?
Possibly.
Or was it just like snippets of different stuff?
I feel like if he's lived out in real time, that's going to mess him up.
That's what I was thinking. Like, so recently I've just read a book where it's not the same, but basically something happens where somebody gets sucked into another like dimension. They experience like hundreds of years of like this thing and then get spit back out into the real world. And it's like a few seconds, and everyone's like, they've visibly aged and all this stuff, and like all this stuff has happened to them. And it's like they're changed by this experience. And it's like, obviously that's more like fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in this, if in your head you've just lived through 40, 50 years of a life, then you find out that wasn't real and you have to adjust back to real life, that must fuck you up. You know what I mean? There's no way you can function back in real life. It's
funny because you've hit on something that I've always thought about the Chronicles of Narnia.
And didn't think you were going to say that, but okay.
But I've always thought there's a real horror element to the Chronicles of Narnia that never gets picked up on, which is they go and live a life, this incredible, fantastical life, and they come back and then they're all just giving each other, like, the kids again. And they're all just giving each other knowing looks and winks and little smirks. Yeah. Oh, yeah, look what we did. How is that not completely messing up their entire, like, psyche. That has got to be... Nothing you did mattered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. That's got to be, like... That feels like a horror film to me.
Nothing you did mattered, and also, you've just got the experience of... to be honest, I've never watched or read Chronicles of Narnia.
Have you not? Oh, you do.
But I know
You've got
what
the gist,
happens, So how long do they age in the what's it like?
So in Chronicle,
like 30s,
in the first one, let's just take The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe takes on like these whole events over the course of like a month, say. And then when they win the war, they grow old in this magical kingdom, become the king and queen, and like they're 60, 70, and then they just happen on a hunt. Again, this is the film, I don't really remember the books too much. But they're on a hunt or something like that. They happen upon this like doorway and like, oh, I kind of remember this door from times gone by.
Yeah.
They go in and they just stumble out as children.
Yeah. So in that case, they've just lived 80 years of experience and then they're shot back into the body of a kid.
Yeah.
With all of that like experience trapped in their head. And it's just like, they're now living 81 as a
wild. That is horrific. That is so scary.
Yeah. And this is what I'm thinking, like, with Mulder. I'm like...
Don't bring it back to X-Files.
Let's keep this tangent going. Like, later on, we find out that Foley dies.
Yeah.
Now, if he's just lived a life where he's been married to Foley for, I don't know, 50 years, let's say, she's just died in this, and then he's just realised, oh no, this wasn't real. Foley's still alive. And Scully then says, no, Foley's just been found dead. It's like, you've just lived through your wife dying twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, surely that must, like, psychologically mess with you. Maybe we're looking too much into it.
But I think it is. I think it's one of those episodes where it asks you to look too far into it, because I do also wonder, like, Scully gets a mention at the end and that's it. We assume that he hasn't seen or heard of her. And that comes into play later on in the episode, where I think the big takeaway from this is he calls Scully his constant. His touchstone.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very fascinating. And I do wonder whether that's the reason why she wasn't there. Because
she's what snaps him out of it.
If she was there, then his constant has led him astray.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But the fact that she wasn't there, and then he can rely on her to bring him back to reality, like you said. Yeah,
maybe. Like I said, it's more of a sort of theory of like what's happening there, but I don't know. There's no way you can't, if you have lived out this life, there's no way you can't forget about that. And just be, oh, that was a dream. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe we do that every night. You know what I mean? Maybe we dream like entire lives in our dreams and forget it all.
I think the thing that's like sort of throwing us off about this is the fact that it's not addressed. And you don't see that sort of side of things and how it would affect.
He's just like back to normal when
exactly. So we don't know how real it is.
Yeah.
I think, I can't believe I'm going to do this again, but an alternative view on it would be Lost, where there's actually a very similar story in Lost with Desmond and Penny. And Desmond actually calls Penny his constant. But in that scenario, you see the trauma that Desmond goes through, having like lived a life and then put back into a place where he doesn't. Anyway, we're going way off track with this. I think it's very fascinating to look into. I just don't think there is definitive answers there.
Yeah, it's just a question that came to my head, but I don't think we're going to ever find out, unfortunately. Anyway, back to this sort of scene. We see Mulder is on his deathbed, essentially. And we see Cigarette Smoking Man look outside of the window and we see, I guess, the future of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just this Holocaust, basically.
Judgment Day.
Yeah.
T2.
It honestly looked like, that's what I thought. I was like, it's like Terminator, but with aliens. But it's like everything's on fire, everything's burning, and doesn't look great.
I prefer it not to happen.
Yeah, me too. But who knows what's going to happen?
I like the fact that we'll have a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll know how we felt going through the apocalypse.
Oh, I can't believe the aliens nuked us again.
Here's my personal promise.
Yeah.
If the apocalypse is nigh,
yeah,
and it engulfs us, are you still like committing to do the weekly podcast?
I mean, unless I'm literally incinerated in the fires of
course,
of the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like whatever it is, like a meteor or...
there won't be any internet, so our reach will be limited.
It would speak really loud.
Yeah, we get our megaphone. How would we watch the episodes? We've got to track down the DVDs. This would be like, what's that film there where he has to track down like a book? Like Book of Eli.
Book of Eli, yeah.
Be the DVD of X-Files.
It's a completely different film. Isn't the big reveal that it's the Bible at the end of that film?
Yeah, apparently it's based on a book. Have you heard? This is some what's it called? I Am Legend.
Yes,
that happens at the end of it. So the big reveal of the film is that it's the Bible, and it's like, oh, the reveal in the book is that it's like the hungry caterpillar or something stupid like that.
Yes.
So the point is, he's going on this massive quest to find this religious text, and it shows it's actually crap. Like, it's just a storybook, and it's like,
which is like a whole message.
Yeah, an allegory that, like religion and whatever.
Yeah.
Being in the Bible completely strips that out. And
the whole message just makes sense.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
But imagine what would make complete sense is if he opens the book and it's a DVD box set of X-Files season 7.
Season 7. Just 7.
Just 7, yeah.
This makes no sense. If you were watching it. Anyway, back in reality, and...
Oh, there goes gravity.
we really need to wrap this up.
Oh God! I'm getting tired, and you can tell.
in both cases of reality, we're back into it now. We see everyone's favourite double crosser, Alex Krycek. He's killed Critchko. He's burnt all of the information, and he's stolen the laptop.
Yes.
Critchko. Sorry, not Critchko. Krycek. This is a problem, actually.
It is. I told you.
I just love how much of a shit he is.
He's great.
Every step he's like, he's done the exact thing we don't want him to do.
Yeah, he is. They have built him up so well. He is just the ultimate, like, flaw in any plan.
Yeah.
He's just great at being that nuisance who's always there to just mess things up. He's great.
I've got a weird comparison with this, but we're in the weird zone, to be fair.
We are. You know what? It's late.
It's late.
We're wired.
Yeah.
We're feeling a little crazy. Hit me with anything you've got.
So, have you ever seen Brass Eye, the news satire program?
I have not seen Brass Eye.
So they do an episode where they're like satirizing the paedophile epidemic.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
So one of the things, their news stories, is that they find that they have like a punishment for a notorious paedophile, and they send him into space so he can't deal with kids anymore. And then they go, but accidentally we've let a child onto the spaceship, and there's like, the quote is, "This is the one thing we didn't want to happen." And Krycek feels like the one thing we didn't want to happen every series.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, we got there in the end, but that was a wild tangent even for us.
Yeah. I mean, watch Brass Eye. It's good.
I've never watched it, but let's continue with the episode.
Let's go with the X-Files for now. So yeah, we see Scully on the floor of her apartment, and then she's visited by the spirit of Albert Hosteen again, who sort of convinces her to pray for Mulder. And then she wakes up in her apartment. Sorry, it's the other way around. And we see that the security card to basically where Mulder's being kept has been slipped under a door. Is this Foley? I have to assume it is.
Yes, yeah. It's confirmed.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I didn't know if they'd confirmed it or not. But she uses this, goes to where Mulder's being held. And we see in Mulder's dream, Scully's actually now come to visit him in the bedside. And she basically...
Do you reckon this is happening at the same time?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, sometimes, like, when you have that lucid dreaming, when, like, stuff influences your dreams, I reckon it's kind of like that. But yeah, Scully comes to him in the dream. And cut a long story short, she basically... She
scolds him?
Scolds him for she calls him a traitor and for falling into this life, this made up life.
I don't think this is what she's saying to him bedside.
No.
But I feel like her being bedside and sort of like him hearing her has made him dream about like what he's leaving behind by living in this reality.
Yeah. But yeah, she, through talking to him in the dream, convinces him to snap out of it, essentially.
Scully, I knew you'd come. They told me you were dead.
And you believe them? Traitor.
What?
Deserter. Coward.
Scully, don't die.
You're not supposed to die, Mulder. Not here.
What do you mean?
Not in a comfortable bed with the devil outside.
No, you don't understand. He's taking care of me.
No, Mulder. He's lulled you to sleep. He's made you trade your true mission for creature comforts.
There was no mission. There were no aliens.
No aliens. Have you looked outside, Mulder?
I'm too tired.
No, Mulder. You must get up. You must get up and fight. Especially you. This isn't your place. Get up, Mulder. Get up and fight the fight.
So back in reality, we see that Scully has found Mulder in this facility, and both of them escape. Again, we see Mulder in this Jesus Christ pose on this operating table again, with more of this religious allegory. And then we cut to a week later, and we see Scully meeting Mulder in his apartment, and he's sort of healing up. He's got this bandage on, and we get the biggest reveal in the episode. Mulder's a Yankee fan.
Ooh.
But can he make the Yankee hat more famous than a Yankee can?
Is he a Yankee fan?
I mean, he's got a Yankee cap.
Yeah, and to be fair, I was going to say, because
He does like baseball as well, doesn't he?
that's the thing. I know, especially, I don't know whether it's the same in the States, to be honest, but I know over here in the UK, anyone and everyone wears Yankee hats because it's a brand.
It's a brand now, yeah.
Rather than an actual sort of like support for a team. But if you like baseball,
yeah, it'd be like if you're into football, you wear your team's shirt.
I'm not going to wear a Manchester United shirt.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, he must be a Yankee fan.
Well, interesting. There we go.
So we found some of that there.
I bet you that's been revealed before. There's
Probably,
been a lot of baseball
100%
type stuff with Mulder, so I reckon that somewhere in his apartment there's a Yankees poster or something.
And then we just get the sort of wrap up of this episode. We find out that this episode has been quite a bloodbath, essentially. We find out...
This is wild.
Yeah. We find out that Foley has been murdered off camera, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
We find out that Albert Hosteen has also died, and all this vision were...
Well, he'd already died.
Yeah. And all these were visions. Obviously, we'd seen that Critchko had died. So that's three, I'd say, minor to middle.
I'd say Fowley's pretty major.
Yeah. They're fairly big characters for the mythology.
Yeah.
Dead in one episode. So.
Fowley surprised me by... I can't believe that was off screen.
It did seem surprising that it was off screen, unless she's not actually dead.
Possibly. Nah, I feel like she's dead.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's my prediction correct.
Yeah.
That's a big tick next to my name.
Do you want me to spoil something that I read in the production notes?
About this episode?
To a degree, yeah. That may or may not confirm a prediction, a certain prediction.
Okay. Oh, I've got to be careful. If the production note is this is the last episode she appears in, then you can spoil it.
This is the last episode she appears in.
Yes! Yes! Now, to be fair, I got the feeling she was like, that was it.
Yeah. They wrote her out from this one, and so that's the end.
Do you feel like it just felt like, oh, let's just get rid of her? We don't know what we're doing with her, so let's just get rid.
And maybe she just stands in the way of what we know is coming of the Mulder and Scully relationship, so who knows? Yeah.
But she went out a hero because, Scully does say, Scully turns around and says to her that, she was the one that gave me the book. She was the one that gave me the ID card. She was the one that changed her mind and saved you, or helped me save you.
Yeah. And yeah, we get this sort of wrap up as well, this scene where Mulder sort of explains that during all of this, as we've said throughout this, that Scully served as his touchstone that anchored him to the real world. And
always has done as well.
Yeah, and Scully sort of reciprocates that she feels the exact same way. I honestly thought we were going to get a kiss here. They literally lean into it, and then she kisses him on the head.
Well, there's the two moments, isn't there? Because she kisses him on the head, a really long kiss on the head. It's a really sweet moment. Yeah. Let's not take anything away from it. And then they pull away, and she touches his lips.
Yeah.
And I was like, here we go. And then she walks away.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, they're going to make us wait for it still, aren't they?
Yeah. And then we end on the final scene, which I didn't know if we needed, but we got it anyway. Mulder is on the beach now with this kid who we're led to believe is him.
Yeah.
We've seen him throughout the episode as well at other points. And they're both building this sandcastle, a sand spaceship, this giant sand spaceship as we sort of pan out and then the episode ends. So that's the end of that. What do you think?
I really enjoyed this episode. I thought, again, I mentioned this last week, but I thought the whole 3-episode arc kind of felt like it just led up to wanting to tell this story.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
But like I've said throughout this episode, I feel like this is going to have more relevance and meaning after we see this season. And I don't know what makes me think that. I could be completely wrong. But I get a feeling about it.
There's definitely a lot left open from this that they don't answer, which is good. There's some stuff that they wrap up, and there's some stories that they fly out end.
Yeah.
So that's good, and I felt like it was a good sort of ending to this 3 series. But as you said, it did feel like they just wanted to tell this story, but had 3 episodes to do it.
Yeah.
So
I also really enjoyed the insight into Mulder's mind of I knew there was parts of it, but I never realized how much guilt he felt for what he believes is his fault on how everyone around him is affected by his work.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking Deep Throat, we're talking Fowley, we're talking Scully, we're talking his dad, we're talking everyone around him pretty much.
Who's died in his sort of...
Not even died, his life's been affected. I'm pretty sure he feels guilt about Scully being just caught up in this because of him. And that's something I didn't realise the effect, or at least the extent of the way he feels. And I thought that was a really good insight going forward. And I think that's going to give a lot more meaning to his actions going forward as well, because he seems to have come to peace with that. And I felt like that's what the last shot was about, was you had this sort of him watching from afar as the kid didn't know what to do, didn't know what decision to make. And he actually just ends up just playing sandcastles and building spaceships, and that's him. That's Mulder.
Ultimately, what he is. Yeah. So, I did think this sort of summed it up perfectly, though, and we get this neat bow on these 3 episodes at the end of it. So,
I'm looking forward to a Monster of the Week episode.
Definitely. I think we need a break.
Yeah. It was too much trying to remember where we are in the story.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a self-contained episode.
Luke's production notes.
In the context of the episode, the subtitle Amor Fati, which means the love of fate, which we mentioned before, is interpreted by the writer Charlton McElwain, I think that's it, or Ilwain, in his book When Death Goes Pop.
Okay.
As a reference to the love of a predestined life, in this case, Mulder's dream. So they're sort of saying that that's the love of what he perceived as his his other life, I guess. In a scholarly book chapter, The Last Temptation of Mulder, Amy Donaldson suggested the phrase means that Mulder must love his suffering and passively accept it, and actively embraces his journey and releases his spirit to find new vigour. There's different interpretations on what this sort of means around.
Yeah, but I feel like that's very similar to what we just said with regards to him playing with a child at the end, him playing with that sort of turmoil of himself almost. You could see it that way. Like, I think, again, I don't think there's a definitive way to watch this episode.
Yeah,
I think the interesting part, I'd like to hear, like, listeners' thoughts on this episode and what they take away from it.
Mulder's dream and decisions in the episode are reminiscent of Jesus' actions in Nikos Kazantzakis. Oh my god, I'm really sorry about the pronunciation. Nikos Kazantzaki's novel, The Last Temptation of Christ. Duchovny, a fan of the book, found parallels between its central story and Mulder's ordeal, and it incorporated many of the novel's concepts into the episode.
Of course he did. he gets a second chance to direct. He's like, I'm going to be Jesus.
Whatever you want to do, Dave.
Yeah. As long as it's in California.
In The Last Temptation of Christ, Jesus is torn between his higher calling as the Son of God and his desire towards his own humanity. Duchovny was drawn to the fact that Christ's struggle in the novel was not only godlike but also profoundly human, and used this template for Mulder. In the series, Mulder is destined towards greater things, in this case, stopping the oncoming alien invasion, but he also desires to have a normal human life. Duchovny noted, Mulder is a guy who's been given the same problem as Jesus. What I'm doing is using the very human model of Christ. This is quite big story.
I have problems with this, though.
Okay.
And they do mention this in the episode. Cigarette Smoking Man makes a comment about how exceptional men tend to want the normal things of life, like the simple things, simple pleasures. I have a problem with the idea of, Mulder's struggling with his higher calling and his want for a normal life. I don't think I've ever got the inclination that Mulder wants a normal life.
No, you see that more from Scully.
I've never, apart from this episode, I've never been given the impression that that's what he pines for. I've always got the impression he enjoys the life. Don't get me wrong, the life that he lives is stressful, and I'm sure he wishes it was different in different ways. But I've never been given the inclination that he's after the, nuclear family, sit down in the countryside and grow old together. That's never really been the... So to throw that out there feels a little bit forced, because I've never...
Like it's coming out of nowhere,
Nothing else has suggested that in anything coming forward. I could be wrong, maybe I've missed things, but... Yeah. Like,
I don't remember it either.
If anything, I would believe it more if Mulder wanted the Playboy life.
Yeah.
Like, get rid of all this alien stuff and just live the Playboy life. I could see that a lot more than this simple, picket fence life.
Yeah. I think the people who we've seen have that are kind of like Scully and, funnily enough, the not cigarette smoking man, the lone gunman. Like the guy from the Lone Gunman, that's what he wanted in his dream. So it's believable then, but you've never seen it from.
No, I don't think you have, and so that kind of just feels like it's been come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Maybe that's a new wrinkle in the Mulder character. Duchovny cautioned that he was not trying to make Mulder into a Christ-like saviour figure, but rather an everyman. Executive producer Frank Spotnitz described the concept as a risk, but Duchovny felt that this exploration of Mulder's character was necessary. I did like it, like I said. I liked all the religious imagery as well. I have no idea about The Last Temptation of Christ as a story, so I can't comment. Several of the lines of the episode proved difficult for both fans and cast members to embrace. Fans did not readily accept that the Smoking Man was Mulder's father. Davis, who portrayed the Smoking Man, noted that fans did not believe the revelation because part of the mystique of it was that everybody had their own idea of what was going on. I can understand backlash to that because, it's
like almost definitive but not definitive, isn't it?
Yeah, and I do find as well when anything is said by Cigarette Smoking Man, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah. But I do think in this case that it was.
It feels real, like it to me.
I don't see. I wrote this note down, but I don't remember this happening. But maybe that I missed something in here. So the dialogue in the episode proved difficult for Anderson to present believably. She was troubled that her character was arguing against the existence of extraterrestrials when in the previous episode her character had encountered an alien shipwreck. Do you remember that? There's a part where she kind of says that something's preposterous, but that's about Albert Austin, isn't it? Like,
yes, that's about him, like, her being able to see him when he's not there.
But aliens, I don't remember.
No, I don't remember arguing against the existence of aliens. Maybe she's talking about, like, just the believing the absurd, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Or maybe it's something in production that never came
out. Yeah.
When she talked to Carter, she said she did not know if she could do this anymore because her character was arguing against information that had been confirmed in the first 2 parts of the episode. Carter explained that there must be a conflict between Mulder and Scully for the show's believer versus skeptic dynamic to work properly. I like that Gillian Anderson is going into bat for kind of what we've been seeing, that there's
only so far you can take this.
Exactly, yeah. So it's good to know that it's not just us, it's also the creators, or some of the creators anyway. Casting director Rick Milliken and the producers encountered difficulties when casting the boy whom Mulder meets on the beach. Originally, they cast the child of series producer Paul Rabwin's neighbour, but child labour laws dictated a limit on his daily working hours, so twin boys were cast to allow the scenes to be shot in a single day. So there goes two children on the beach.
It always tends to be twins, doesn't it? And again, I've never really thought about it, but yeah, maybe it's something to do with the child labour laws that you can only have a certain amount of time.
So if you ever have twins, get them acting.
Yeah.
Job for
Cash in.
And then this is what I mentioned before. This episode is the last episode to feature Mimi Rogers as Agent Fowley. After reading the copy of the script, Rogers realised that a character was going to die before reading the ending. The script included a part for Fowley, which Rogers described as by far the most she had had to do in an episode. She later explained, "It occurred to me while I was reading the script, this is way too good. I have too much to do. They're going to kill me." Which, to be fair, we really haven't seen too much of her before, so yeah.
She will be missed, I think that's fair to say. I enjoyed the character. I don't really know what the big point of it was in the end. It does feel a little bit like I felt like she was built up to be more important than she actually ended up being.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, ultimately, at the end of it, she's just a dream that didn't come off and then she's killed. Yeah. And it's kind of like, okay, fair enough, yeah. So, I don't know how important it was, but...
Yeah, exactly. But I think she did her job well.
Davis, who played Cigarette Smoker Man, was pleased with the episode. He stated, "For me, the episode was terrific to play because they ended up making the Cigarette Smoker Man somewhat tougher. We have seen so much softness in him. I don't know, have we? It was great to play his tough side. With that said, he described the scene in which he was strapped to an operating table with Mulder as totally uncomfortable, later joking that the only upside of that was that the author of the script, David Duchovny, was lying right beside me, feeling equally uncomfortable. I wonder if David would have written it this way if he'd have known this is what he would have to go through." So there you go.
Interesting.
He's quite a joker, and Davis. And finally, the scene in which the Smoker Man opened a window and revealed the alien landscape was used. It used a matte painted background, and then different effects like explosions and stuff were digitally added to this later on. So that's how they created that scene.
It stinks.
Welcome to the Critic Files.
What would you give this episode?
I'm going to give this a 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, I think it's a good episode. Didn't blow me away, but I thought it was, for the mythology ending, I feel like it progressed the story just enough.
Yeah. I'm around about that. I gave it an 8.
Yeah.
So, pretty similar. And to be fair, 2,852 people on IMDb gave it a 7.8, so pretty much smack bang in the middle of what we gave. So that's what
we're all sort of thinking along the same lines there, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd sort of say that's a fair score.
Yeah. I think I'd like to hear what all our listeners think. Twitter Corner is back next week, so let us know. Get on Twitter at Most Unwanted Pod. Send us a tweet what you thought of these episodes, what you thought of next week's episode if you want, because we will be reviewing that for now. By that, we'll have already reviewed it by the time this comes out, I dare say, so you're not spoiling anything for us. And yeah, just anything else in particular, let us know what you think. I do apologise, we already have a theme. power rankings. I need to hear the power rankings.
Who could beat up who?
Who could beat up who in the X-Files universe?
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll read those out and we'll do that again next week.
Next week we are looking at an episode entitled. We've already explained what the episode is called. It's called Hungry.
Hungry cannibals.
It's got to be something about eating, isn't it? Hungry.
Yeah, it's going to be cannibals, or it's going to be like an alien tapeworm. That's like an alien sort of like worm that just keeps feeding, and they need to.
I've just seen a picture by typing in the episode.
It's the worm.
It's not the worm.
Oh, okay.
But
You've spoiled yourself.
I can't take a guess. Maybe it's about the country Hungary. Who knows?
Just spelled completely differently.
yeah. Somebody just can't type. Yeah, we'll tackle that next week. Other than that, yeah, we'll see you then.
Bye. He's not giving me any of his wealth, but he'll give his trouserless duck a handout here and there, won't he? Unbelievable.
Talking of conspiracies. I struggled to say that with a straight face. Oh, maybe we should talk about the X-Files.
Yeah, let's do it.